Live, it stars Over the Prairie with 8-time Minnesota Music Award-winning songwriter, musician, author, and historian, Paul Metsa. Check out previous show podcasts at kdal610.com. Now, here's Paul Metsa.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Stars Over the Prairie. This is your host, Paul Metsa. My wingman, Chris Allen, with me every week as we are approaching our second anniversary come March 16th.
What are we going to do? Are we going to have fireworks and some kind of celebration? Well, I don't know about fireworks, but probably the bosses won't.
Let's get Steve Sokla back on. He was our first guest. He sang the Finnish national anthem in Finn because it was St. Urho's Day. I don't think that's going to line up.
I think we should load him with fireworks and then have him do the Finnish national anthem.
He'd do it. I mean, he's the guy. He plays on a unicycle. Do you know that guy? Oh, man.
People won't see it on the radio, but that would be funny.
Yeah, no, he rides the unicycle, puts a symbol on his head. But the guy knows, he says he can access 10,000 songs in a variety of languages. Let's write that down. Steve Sokla, second anniversary Stars Over the Prairie party. But that is in the future. Right now, I couldn't be more delighted to have an old friend of mine, a man that I have as much respect for in terms of his music, his work ethic, and just his general vibe as Mr. Charlie Parr. And he spent a lot of time in Duluth, kind of came of age here and made a name for himself. And now he's made a name for himself all over the world with over a dozen trips to Europe. He's crisscrossed the United States and one of the hardest working guys.
We have Christopher Cross here?
There is nothing that Charlie Parr has in common with the great Christopher Cross, who's a Texas musician, so I give him a lot of credit for that, and made a lot of money with one song, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But Charlie, great to see you again.
It's great to see you, Paul. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. It's gotta feel good to come back to Duluth, doesn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I miss living here. I moved down to St. Paul a couple of years ago and have missed Duluth ever since.
When I've lived here now, geez, it's hard to believe, going on 5 years. And I go down to Minneapolis now. I just played down there. And it's like, I can't handle the traffic, and it's just like, a lot of my favorite neighborhood restaurants and bars are gone. Yeah. With the exception of Grumpy's at 22nd and 4th, which is the all-time greatest bar in the history of the Twin Cities, next to Palmer's, which we lost as well.
We lost Palmer. We still got Grumpy's at least.
We still got Grumpy's Northeast with the great Pat Dwyer. But, when I come back, I just love coming down that hill after Spirit Mountain and looking at that beautiful Lake Superior.
That's the best view. I was always looking forward to coming up here and getting over that hill again.
I was writing a song years ago. It's called Party to a Crime. And I needed a name for the protagonist. I was kind of writing it. I'm sure you do this too. You keep, some people do it on their phones now. I'm old school. I like the yellow legal pad. Keep it right on my passenger seat if I don't have a passenger. And I was driving on the hill, and I needed a name for the protagonist, and it's Cody Street. I go, Cody. That's the name. That's what I use.
Yeah, I think I've done that a lot too.
What is your writing process? You've put out, God, you put out a lot of. How many records have you put out?
I don't know. More than 5, less than 20.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I mean, the thing about it is that now, or even when I started, like when I didn't think I was performing all the way through I started performing in the mid '80s.
Right.
When I moved to the cities. And I didn't really think about recording. I moved to Duluth in '99, and one of the first people I met were Al Sparhog and Mark Lindquist. I met those guys, and I was playing a weekly gig at Sir Benedict's Tavern, and both of them said, you should make a little recording. And I'm like, why? This isn't my job. I've got a job.
Right.
I'll be fine. And then finally I decided, that might be a good idea. But I found that it was so easy. At that, because there's recording stuff everywhere, and I'm really interested in lo-fi sound.
Right. Sure.
The records, the records I was listening to Blind Lemon Jefferson,
right.
Pre-electric microphone recordings,
right.
So it was easy to make lo-fi recordings in Mark Lindquist's basement. And so I started putting out a record a year.
Right.
Because I was writing a lot, and so it was easy, so I've just racked up a lot. They're gone. I'm not interested in going back and re-releasing them, but now, due to the, miracle or curse, whatever it is, of the internet technology, they're all out there now. You can hear all the music I've ever made, but I'm still writing, so I'm only kind of thinking about what's on my plate right now.
And there was a great record that you did called Hollandale with Al Sparhawk, who I'm so honored to be a friend of, and he's such a just an incredible musician, but he's a true mystic.
Yes,
he
is,
and
very intuitive player. I found that playing with Al is almost like it's a levitating kind of experience, because I think everybody does this, but as musicians, we hear kind of one way. We hear the way that we're habituated to hear. I have a habit of hearing this way. And you meet someone like Al, who's really intuitive and listens very carefully to what you're doing, adds something to it that you wasn't in your habit of hearing. It always fascinates me. And he's generous with the sounds that he makes,
and generous of spirit.
Absolutely.
We're going to listen to a song, because I've got a album release party for my record, Songs of Resistance and Resolve, which is a 40-year compilation of me screaming at, tilting at windmills and flipping off the powers that be. And the song that I was honored to record with Al, No Kings, No Crown, that we're going to be playing at the end of the show today. He brought this beautiful old Martin guitar. I had my beautiful old Martin guitar, and I just love playing with him. He's got perfect time and a complete sense of rhythm and a really cool guitar style.
He does. I love his guitar style. I love his approach to tunings, the chord voicings he chooses. I've learned a lot just from watching. But, I didn't take lessons, so to speak.
Right.
But I had so many teachers, like Alan, and like Dave Ray at the Times Bar on Thursdays or whenever that was. Even watching Willie Murphy play these solo barrel house piano sets at the 400, I learned so much.
Yeah.
So I did have teachers.
That was, Charlie Parr and I my guest, came up kind of, Charlie's a bit younger, but we came up, in the same time, to be able to enjoy the incredible music scene on the West Bank. Mm-hmm. You look at Charlie at the 400 Bar, my Cats and the Stars, my band, we did 4 years of Tuesdays. But if you looked at a ad that pops up every now and then on Facebook of the acts, you could see, it was either Spider John Kerner and Tony Glover, or Dave Ray and Tony Glover at the 400. Mm-hmm. Willie Murphy, I think he was doing Wednesday night solo piano, which was my favorite Willie Murphy.
Oh
Same. Bill Hinckley and Judy Larson, and then just all the other great local musicians. Yeah. 7 nights a week, every night of the week. Yeah. And then occasionally you could run over up to Palmer's. They'd have some music up there. And if you didn't hear some of those musicians we just named, you could go have a beer with them at Palmer's. Right. And then you had I'm sure you must have played back then, Charlie, when you were getting going, the new Riverside Cafe. Did you have a chance to play there?
I played there a lot. Al Haig was booking. He was really kind to me. He was really good to me. And I played there a few times, mostly on their folk blues night.
That was a great show.
I love that place. But I lived on the West Bank from 1983, I think, till I don't know when, but I lived in a rooming house behind the Mixed Blood Theater. And I haunted the Riv, because guys like Phil Haywood would play there.
I know.
Watching Phil Haywood blew my mind, or Dakota Dave Hull would sit in there and play these sets. I'm just like, what?
Well, that's the other beautiful thing about Minnesota, the Twin Cities in particular, I don't think you could find an area that has that many great acoustic fingerstyle guitar players.
Right.
Leo Kottke, Peter Lang, Phil Haywood. Who's our buddy that played on the Prairie Home Companion? Pat Donahue, Tim Sparks, Tom Lieberman. You know, I play a little fingerstyle guitar myself, and of course you do. But what? And then all the great flat pickers. You had this great bluegrass scene there, and then the blues scene. It was just it was a truly a golden age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell the people that have never heard of Palmer's Bar, which was one of the oldest bars in the Twin Cities. I believe it got started at the turn of the century and just closed this past September. And in the last several years, once Pat Dwyer and his wife Sarah took over, started having a lot more music, although they always had music over the years, including, Cornbread Harris was doing his Sundays there, was like walking into a New Orleans smoky jazz club. Of course, there wasn't smoke anymore.
Right.
But tell us about just hanging out, not even playing at Palmer's, but just hanging out, having a beer, about how cool that scene was.
The thing I liked about Palmer's, I mean, I at that time, like in the 80s and early 90s, kind of those kind of places I kind of gravitated towards, because at that time Palmer's didn't have a TV set in there at all, and like Stand Up Frank's over in the near North Side, TV set, which you could count on in those places, especially Palmer's. It's conversation, and the regulars that hung out in Palmer's, and in that time I wasn't really a regular, but I was in there a lot, and every Thursday we would go in there and just sit down and grab one. Remember those? They had those half circular booths in there at that time. Just grab one of those, a bunch of buddies, and we'd just have a conversation. It would inevitably, if it was a good one, would attract people from the bar, and pretty soon a bunch of people are talking. There's good music playing. There's no TV distraction,
right?
And it felt like a community place. The Viking did too. The Viking.
Oh yeah, let's not forget the Viking.
And same thing. No TV in there. George Bell didn't want a TV in there. He wanted music in there. He wanted people to talk and hang out together. And it felt like a hub of the community.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first moved to Minneapolis of 77, moved up north for the summer to play bass in a country rock band called the Hole in the Wall Gang. Doug Ellis, the band leader, who's still playing up there, used to turn around and said, "Metsa, keep it in the pocket. Keep it, because 1, 4, 1, 5, whatever." But not me. That's not how Metsa played the bass. Anyway, still did those songs justice. But my great Palmer story, and I've got a lot of them, but you'd go there, and there was Spider John Kerner at the bar.
Sometimes he was tending the bar.
Yeah, sometimes he was tending the bar. You're right. You're right. So I went in there one night, and it finally, I had Spider Blues, that great record, with that great cover of him with the Ray-Ban smoking a stogie. And I just love that record. I had seen him in Duluth once or twice. And but this Spider John Kerner, I mean, this is like Abe Lincoln, right? Mm-hmm. It's like and so I walked up to him and I said, "John, can I buy you a beer and a bump?" He goes, "Sure." So I introduced myself and we started chatting. And of course, he was one of the sweetest guys you ever met.
He was.
And funny and quick and super intelligent. And I go, "John," I was thinking about Run and Jump and Stand It Still, that great record he did with Willie Murphy in '68. I said, "Are you ever going to play with a band again?" And he pauses, and he goes, "Paul," he goes, "anybody can play with me," he said, "but I can't play with anybody else." And it was like, okay, Mahatma, right. I will now go back to the mountain and return when I figured out what you just said.
I played with John at Palmer's one night, and we were on the bill together, and Lisa Hammer, she was in there. She was not going to give up, because John said, I don't want to have it. I want to do this. And she wouldn't give up. And finally he said to me, Lisa wants us to play together. We better just get it over with. And went up there, and John, I think it's like if you washing a rug in the washing machine, and it gets to the spin cycle, and it's a rug, and the rug is the only thing in there. That's all that's in the washing machine. It starts to spin, and when it starts to spin, it's got this weird off-kilter rhythm to it.
Yeah.
But it's a rhythm.
Right.
That reminded me of John. He was a set of one. He was one of one.
Right.
Nobody else played guitar like him. Nobody commanded that rhythm. Get up on stage, sit next to him, and that rhythm starts, and I'm like, where's the one? Where are we coming down at? Because it's different every single time.
Yeah.
And the song that I said, I think I could hang in there with Delia. I could play Dave Ray's part on Delia.
Right.
Because it's different now, because he played it that way then. Now he's going to play it this way now. And the whole, it was the longest 4 minutes of my life. And I think I hung in there kind of. But, my level of respect for the man and his ingenuity behind the guitar, just went through the roof at that point. Just being next to him on stage.
I think this is a good time to play a little, but we're going to play some Charlie Parr, of course, but we both revere the late great Spider John Kerner. In fact, we're going to talk to Charlie about how Spider John gifted him his Gretsch guitar. But first, we've got to listen to a little music by our guest Charlie Parr. Here is Last of the Better Days Ahead.
Money can't buy back that 64 Falcon that you sold in your 20s and regretted it was gone. 'Cause you thought it contained some meaning or some answers to a life that you never bothered to question or even take a good close look at. And it broke her heart to see how it had been so important, from the feeling of the steering wheel to the rubber on the road. And now it's grown to unrealistic proportions in your mind. Now you're in your 50s, why can't you forget how the chrome bumper shined in the sun? If you could just go back, even for a minute, you could forget how you don't even know what it was you've lost. Why you always feel so empty in spite of all you have? Were those feelings you remember even real? Were they honestly about some junky old Falcon or any other thing that you could own? Now it's all so stale.
Now that is some sweet picking by my guest Charlie Parr. That was Last of the Better Days Ahead. We're going to be talking with Charlie for the whole show on Stars Over the Prairie this morning. But first, we've got to listen to some of the folks that help us pay the piper. And I want to especially thank Weiss Eye Center for being a longtime sponsor of Stars Over the Prairie.
I'm Lucas, and I had Z LASIK at Weiss Eye Center. Went great. Little to no pain yesterday. Surgery went great. Everything else. Went home, took a nap, woke up, and haven't really had any pain since. Everybody was super nice and talked you through every step of the way, and I barely had to ask any questions because they knew what to say. They filled it all in. For me, it'll just be snowmobiling's my big one. I try to do a lot of riding in the winter. I farm in the summer, so this year was a big difference where a couple of times I had to borrow somebody's helmet so I put my glasses on and ride because just the weather conditions, everything else, out there riding blind. So I'm really excited for that. It's well worth the money, and it's going to change my life for a long time, I'll tell you that.
Weiss Eye Center is the only clinic to offer blade-free Z LASIK in the Northland. To find out more and to arrange your free consultation, call 218-625-1917 today or visit weisseyecenter.com for more information. Weiss Eye Center. See the best.
Hi, this is Liberace with my good friend Liza Minnelli.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, I didn't see you there. You can listen to us on Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa on KDAL.
I love that stuff. That was from the record Hollandale that my guest Charlie Parr recorded with Al Sparhawk. I remember when I first got that and I put that on the turntable. I said, man, this is as close as I've heard a Robbie Bass show in years.
Oh, thanks, Paul. That's high praise. I love Robbie Bass.
Oh, my God. What a singular voice he was.
Oh, yeah. In every way.
Yeah. What, how did this recording, Hollandale with Mr. Sparhawk come about?
Well, I wanted to do an instrumental record, but I really felt kind of directionless. I'd listen to, I listened to a lot of Robbie Basho, listened to a lot of John Fahey, Leo, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of that kind of generation of the, whatever they call that kind of music.
They used to call it American primitive guitar.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know how I wanted to go about it. At the time, I was hanging out a lot with Jack Rose, before he passed away.
Right.
And Jack's sets were fascinating because he could play ragtime, but then he could also do that, like long distance traveler stuff,
Right.
And it was fascinating to watch him like skirt the lines between those two worlds. So anyway, Alan was building a new studio and he invited me to go do it there, and I wanted to collaborate with him on it. And so I went over there, I don't know, like every night for like a week and just would play. And I'd play ragtime, play blues, all instrumental, play these kind of, longer pieces. And at the end of the whole process, I don't know, we had hours worth of music.
Yeah.
And I kind of let Alan kind of be my guide in what to pick for the record. And so the record was kind of compiled more or less by him. And I think it worked. It hangs together pretty well. I still want to do another one.
It was my favorite record of the year.
Thank you.
Whenever that came out, just a handful of years ago. So Charlie, what is your, it's the end of January 2026, what does your rest of the winter and spring and summer look like?
I'm recording a new record too. I'm working at Creation with Tom Herbers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm recording a record with Dave King, drummer from Bad Plus.
Oh, my God. I saw the Dave King, Leo Kottke show at the North Shore.
Amazing, right?
It blew my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gotten to be friends with Dave. And
I can't wait to hear that, man.
I've written a record, and I want it to be kind of stripped down, drums, 12-string, vocals. That's kind of it. Yeah. Jacqueline Alton is coming in to play a little bit of cello part on it. And Alan's going to come down and play a little electric guitar here and there. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty simple, but that's happening in February. Apparently, Smithsonian is agreeable to release it in the fall, which I was very pleased about. So that's going on. I'm writing some new stuff for a book and touring a lot. I've got a big West Coast tour coming up at the end of March. At the end of April, I head to Europe again for, I think, 5 weeks.
Wow.
And then it's festival season. So.
Now, do you do your, I know you got to have a booking agent to have that kind of a work schedule. Do you manage yourself?
No, I've got help. I did for so long. That's all I did. And you know how this is. That turns into your job.
Oh, yeah.
Guitar playing becomes a second job
or third job.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But your job is booking, promoting all this other stuff. So, it was too much work. I signed a bad contract at one point, and the only way to get out of it was to have Mark help me, and he just stayed with me after that because I'm like, I can't, I want to play the guitar. Yeah, that's all I want to do. I don't care about any of this other stuff.
Well, you're pretty good at that. I got my one quick Leo Kottke story and experiment and Leo experimenting. I was at the 400 bar, of course, back then, and Cal Hand.
Yeah.
Was playing, and I forget who he was playing with. Cal Hand, of course, was a pedal steel and dobro player that played with Leo for years on all of his early recordings. I was honored to have him play on my song called 59 Coal Mines on my new record, Songs of Resistance and Resolve. And he played dobro and pedal steel. And so I'm sitting at the bar, and I turn to my left, Mr. Leo Kottke, who is my God. That's the guy. I saw him in 1972 at the Guthrie Theater, and it was such pure magic between Leo's artistry, the lights, the sound, and then he brought Bill Berg and Bill Peterson on that played a great trio thing for the end. And this night I walked out of the Guthrie Theater, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a professional musician. So I'm a huge Leo fan.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting next to him, and I said, Leo, can I buy you a shot of Southern Comfort? Back then, in my pre-diabetes days, I was drinking Southern Comfort.
Oh, God.
Had no relationship to my impending diabetes situation. But so we did a few shots together. I said, Leo, you know what? I said, you should go in the studio with just forget any song forms and just improvise. Maybe get a percussionist and just go crazy. The next week, I got a call from a guy named Jay Mattis, who was a drummer and trumpet player, played on one of my records. He said, man, I got the craziest call yesterday. I said, what's that? He goes, I got a call from Leo Kottke. He goes, he just wants to go into the studio and improvise.
Plant the seed.
I would love to hear whatever happened to that. We're going to listen to a little more. I could talk to Charlie all day, but let's listen to another song of his called Stray, and then we'll be back for the rest of the show with Mr. Parr.
How can you say he's gone astray? The days find him alone, always miles from anywhere, never finding his way home. How can you say he's always dirty? Well, he's got nowhere to wash. Everyone avoids him, no matter what the cost. To his damaged ego, to his worn out shoes, thin clothes against the cold, thin hearts against his own. Let the rope out easy, bring everyone on board. Mend the broken hearts, take on their heavy loads, take on their heavy loads.
That was my guest, Mr. Charlie Parr. God, I still love your music, Charlie, and I so appreciate your friendship and taking time to speak with us today.
Thank you.
We were, before we went to the song, I told the story about Spider John Kerner gifting you his Gretsch guitar.
Yeah.
Tell us about the guitar and what that what that meant to you. And still means to you, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's almost hard to put words on it. I mean, John bought that guitar. It's 48 to 51 Gretsch. It was when they were making them in the Brooklyn plant. Beautiful jumbo body. It was a 6-string. John had sent it down to his friend Jim in Florida to restore it, and said, "Oh, just make it into a 12-string." And so it has a cut-up set of mandolin tuners to accommodate room for all the strings on the peg head. John liked to have a floating saddle, but he didn't like a trapeze tailpiece. So it's got a pin bridge 4 inches behind the saddle, which is a floating saddle from a Gibson L5, I think it is.
Right.
It's beautiful. It shouldn't even work.
Right.
It's crooked. It's wavy. But it intonates perfectly. The action is amazing. It sounds incredible. It sounds like John. It's got his tail marks all over.
Yeah.
He played it in the 80s mostly, into the 90s, a little bit to the end of the 90s when he switched over to that Epiphone that he played till the end of his life. And so he called me when he decided that he really wasn't going to be able to play anymore. It just wasn't, his hands weren't working like he wanted them to. And so he was going to put the Epiphone in a box and put it on the wall at Palmer's. And he wanted to give this Gretsch to me because he wanted it to stay on the road.
Wow.
And that's what I've done. I mean, initially I'm like, I don't know if I should tour with this. It's priceless. But then I thought, no, it needs to be out there.
Yeah.
And like, guitars better than anybody. The more you play them, the better they get.
Absolutely.
And this thing, it had stood on the wall in John's place for a long time because he hadn't played it. So when I first got it, it was a little stiff. And now all the sounds that I could hear it making throughout its whole life are back again. And, I sit down and I learn John's songs and play them. And at my sets, I bring it out. I brought it, it went to California. It's been in New York. It's been all over the country. I'm not going to fly with it, but,
right.
And I bring it out. I play one of John's songs or maybe a couple of them, remind everybody, that this, Kerner and Glover are important, and John was important. And even though he kind of, I think those three as a general rule, they just didn't really care about, but that kind of fame and fortune they made a lot of moves that indicated that.
Right.
They chose to do what they did, and I think it's important. So bringing John's guitar out means the world to me.
Well, there wouldn't be musicians like Charlie Parr and Paul Metsa if it wasn't for people like Kerner and Glover. And there was a couple other musicians that specifically influenced by Spider John Kerner, a guy from England named David Bowie.
Yes, right.
And, of course, there would be no Bob Dylan if it wasn't for Kerner, Ray, or Glover.
That's right. Exactly right.
Charlie, we've got about 1 minute left. You, like I said, I'm very aware of how hard you work. What keeps you going?
I listen to music every single day. Every single day I listen to music. I play guitar every day that I can, and it just wakes something up in me that nothing else does. Music has always done that. Ever since my first memories of hearing music when I was a little tiny child, it did something to me that nothing else could ever do, and I'm chasing that. I'm chasing that all the time. There's a I think it's in Breakfast of Champions that Kurt Vonnegut writes about that painter who says, you could put me in a spaceship and send me into space. If I had paints and a canvas and a brush, I'd be fine. All I want to do is have that feeling of applying paint to canvas.
Right.
That's what guitar playing feels like for me. If you take it all away and say I can't perform anymore, but I could still play, I'm fine. I'll sit in my kitchen and play for the rest of my life, until I can't stop playing anymore. I'm just chasing that tactile feeling of my fingers and the strings, getting to play songs, even songs I didn't write. I don't care. I just want to be involved in participate in the process of music.
All right, Charlie, we got a lot more to talk about, but we got to hear from our sponsor.
I'm Joe, and I had Z LASIK at Weiss Eye Center. The funny thing is I absolutely hated buying a contact solution because I thought it was such a racket having to spend $15 on a bottle of contact solution. And that's just one thing, is just not having to buy that stuff anymore, or glasses or anything like that. For me, it's mainly just I like to hunt and fish and everything, and not having to bring that stuff along, especially in the winter when I go ice fishing and stuff. It gets a pain when I get to the end of the day taking my contacts out, and then if a rattle reel goes off in the middle of the night, I'm fumbling for my glasses to go and try and catch a fish.
Weiss Eye Center is the only clinic to offer blade-free Z LASIK in the Northland. To find out more and to arrange your free consultation, call 218-625-1917 today or visit weisseyecenter.com for more information. Weiss Eye Center. See the best.
Stars over the prairie, KDL Radio. And now, here's Paul Metsa.
Welcome back to Stars Over the Prairie. This is your host, Paul Metsa, wingman Chris Allen, and my guest for the whole show, the great Charlie Parr. Charlie, the last time you were on, a lot of people listen to it because when they know Charlie Parr is coming, they perk up their ears. And
because you never know what the subject matter is going to be.
But I have bumped into more than one person that said, what exactly, if I'm driving along and I want to make a burrito, and exactly how fast do I have to be going in the car before I put it on the carburetor or wherever we did it? Anyway,
or a measurement of how far I have to drive according to what kind of burrito they're making.
And so we've got the man here. So, Charlie, tell us about how you heat up the burritos before a gig while you're driving.
Well, there's a lot of variables. I mean, if you're in Texas in the summertime, you don't even want to go 7 miles and your food is done. And, you know, or if it's raining, you're going to eat cold food. You just can't cook, you know. But I'm getting this, like my family is a lot of farmers, all laborers, right. You know, and my uncle farming vegetables around Hollandale, you know. You want hot food at lunch. If no one's bringing you food, you know, the manifolds on the tractor are what you're going to use. Met train engineers. That's the way they cook food. I was in Texas. I was coming south of Waco. I stopped at the Czech stop, you know, near West, and I got, at that time I was still eating, you know, processed meats, which I quit eating. But I stopped and I got some of these, you know, hot links out of the place there. Threw them in some foil, had some bread, made it down about 9 miles away. They had burned, you know, and I was in a rest area. Truck driver pulls into the rest area, and he comes walking over. I had my hood up, so I figured he was going to ask me if I needed help. But he didn't want. He said, "What's for lunch?" And he said, "This is the way he cooked all his food." You know? So I showed him my burned sausages, but we ate them anyway.
Well, let's say, for example, I'm driving from Duluth down to the Twin Cities, and I want to have a nice, you know, let's say, egg and cheese burrito by the time I hit the city limits.
Yeah.
When do I put it in?
Well,
you put it on the manifold?
Honestly, I'd probably just put it in Duluth and take it off in Minneapolis because, you know, the thing about it is, you know, it's never going to get hot enough up here to like destroy food.
Right.
You know, and when you're driving, you've got to account for the fact that, you know, wind shear through the engine compartment is going to keep the temperature pretty moderate. Food will take longer on the freeway than it does in rush hour. You know, if you're sitting in town, your motor gets hot, and that heat just sits in there.
There's a lot of variables.
Tons of variables. My method for heating up pizza, for example.
Yeah.
Get you a slice of pizza. You go to the gas station. The first thing you're going to do, get out of the truck, put the pizza on the manifold. In its foil, you know, put the pizza on the manifold. Get your gas, go inside, get your coffee, go to the bathroom.
This is uncooked. I mean, it's...
Yeah, cold as can be. Go to the bathroom, do your thing, come back out. Your pizza will be done. You know, that's what, 10 minutes. But that's how, you know, the exhaust manifold of your car is collecting heat the whole time, and as soon as the car stops moving, that heat is radiant heat, and it's hot enough to not burn, but if you leave it on too long, it will burn. But after your gas is done, you get your pizza and jump back. Don't forget it. You know, that's the thing. Don't forget the thing, because you'll never get it back again. But I've had so much food hit the road because I didn't secure it tightly enough. And
you know what? It's also ecologically correct.
Well, the thing is generating heat anyway.
Right, exactly.
It's up there making heat. It's, you know, nowadays, you know, engines are a lot more efficient, so it's hard to find that hot spot. You know, I currently drive a 40-year-old vehicle, so it's all hot all the time. So it's, you know, I can cook food on this engine on the top of the air cleaner. That's how inefficient this engine is. But
what kind of ride is it?
It's a 86, 87 Land Cruiser.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many miles on it?
It's only got 230,000. So it's the 2F straight 6. It will go for 1 million miles if I take care of it.
Wow. Charlie, I gotta ask you, you know, you're such a prolific performer, but I'm sure over the years with all of your travel, and especially starting out all the various bars and things you're playing. You're still doing bars. I know you just did this some Wednesdays at our friend Tim Nelson's Cedar Lounge. Can you share one of your least favorite gigs?
That's hard because
There's been so many of them.
Well, the thing is that what we do is a privilege.
Right, that's true.
Not everybody gets come sit here by yourself and do something while everybody watches you do it. That's not something that happens.
And then here's some money for that.
And here's some money for it.
Yeah.
So that flavors everything I do. I have in the morning I get up and I say out loud the things that I'm grateful for. It's part of my mental health regime, right? And it has evolved into me just kind of doing that throughout the day. And if I hit a bad gig, it's usually my fault.
Okay.
Because I'm not prepared or whatever. Or for some reason the TV needs to be kept on for my gig. I don't really enjoy that very much. But I try to do a thing after a gig, kind of figure out how I feel about it, figure out if I did something interesting with songs or maybe just let them lay there. If it wasn't a great gig, I try to think of 3 things about the gig that I can be grateful for so I can walk away thinking, I'm not taking this for granted. I'm not just feeling like I'm entitled to this gig.
Right.
I'm still understanding that this is a privilege that I get to do this, even when I've had a bad night for whatever reason. And sometimes, you get people that have had a little bit too much to drink and they're a little overly excited. They come up and they need to talk while you're playing a song. That's not my favorite. But on the other hand, this person is excited to be there. Right. They're excited to talk to you. They're doing it at the wrong time, but they're still, excited to be there. I'm not gonna become angry about getting to do this for a living. I'm not gonna do that. I'm always gonna be grateful for this. So my least favorite gigs might involve televisions and alcoholics, but I'm still grateful to be there.
Charlie, one of these days I'm going to tell you about the Cats and the Stars New Year's Eve gig that we played for a bikers club out in the woods by Quamba, Minnesota, in a double-wide trailer.
Where gets better and better.
Where they showed up driving their Harleys into the trailer. They had a arm wrestling set up right next to it that by the time we got there had blood on the floor, and unbeknownst to us, the keg was spiked with LSD. And then when we wanted to get done at 1 a.m, and there was a crack in the window, and it was about 40 below outside, about 30 below inside, they wouldn't let us stop playing. So when I look at bad gigs, that kind of stuff comes to mind. But I love your attitude.
I've never gotten myself
You know what
in
I
that
like
situation.
about both of these conversations? None of it has to do with bad amps, bad guitars, or bad monitors.
No, that's a good point. I don't use monitors and I don't use amplifiers.
But I mean, with a break a string or something like that, you think that would make for a bad gig, but I haven't heard any of that. It has to do with all kinds of other variables.
I was at an early fire hose gig at the Entry one night, and Mike Watt broke a bass string during a song and didn't stop singing the lyrics to the song and changed the bass string in probably 8 measures. It's just amazing to me. Like
wow.
That's the professional that I want to be. That doesn't, you don't. He didn't even point it out. You just saw it happening.
The show must go on.
He didn't acknowledge it. He broke a bass string.
See, I think that night I would have quit.
Well, you're
there's no way there's no way that I would have been able to do that. So as soon as I saw him do that, I would just say, I'm done. We're
going to listen to a little bit of Charlie Parr doing 1922 blues, and then come back with a short wrap up with Mr. Parr.
I gave all of my money to the government. I don't know quite how I got spent, but the bank has come to my deed. Man at the mill can't see. Won't you let me get my feed for free? Ain't that the way it is? Well, I came down the gravel road and I traded my stock for a V8 Ford. That's 410 on the floorboards and the tires rolled down to me. And that gasoline ain't free, but this clutch is wearing out my knee. Ain't that the way it is? Well, I met me a woman out in St. Paul, even met a mother, and I met a Paul, but a brother told me bust my jaw. I talked to his sister again. Told me I wouldn't win. Now there is blood running out of my chin, and ain't that the way it is? I spent a whole night on the barroom floor. This morning my head was sore. I could tend to better once more. And the barman got my car, and the tab is worth more by far. We'll leave it down at the bar and say, ain't that the way it is? Hitched me a ride on the way back home, and I got a job on a family farm. But times are hard and I can't roll. I ain't got nothing more. I own a company store, but the road is looking good for sure. Ain't that the way it is? Well, I worked all summer, couldn't save a cent. I gave all of my money to the government, and I don't know quite how I got spent, but the bank is coming for my deed.
The great Charlie Parr. Charlie, what kind of I imagine you've got a truck that was built in the 80s. You got to have a CD player, if not a cassette player, in that bad boy. What kind of music are you listening to when you're traveling down the highway?
I listen to a lot of instrumental music, especially when I'm driving. Jazz is kind of, especially that kind of blue kind of era. Miles.
Oh yeah.
Anything Monk. A lot of Bill Evans. I love that vibe when I'm driving.
I saw Bill Evans do a solo show at Northrop. Oof. Unbelievable. Yeah. And then I saw, not long after, Sonny Rollins.
Oh, I love Sonny Rollins.
Do a solo show at Northrop.
Amazing.
It's just, we've been privileged to grow up in the time we have. Yeah. You're in a little over your mid-50s. Dylan's celebrating his 85th birthday, May 24th. Just give us, we're in Duluth, 237 somersaults down the hill from Bob Dylan's childhood home. Give us a minute on your respect for Bobby Dylan.
Oh, well, that's hard to quantify, too. Because, when I started, trying to learn, Dylan was in my house since I was a kid because my sister was older than I am. Those records were always around. And that voice, that approach, my earliest thinking about guitar playing was I just want to do this by myself.
Right.
And I want to make up songs and sing them by myself. Bob Dylan and John and, Blind Lemon Jefferson Lightning Hopkins are the guys that were there pointing the way to that. Dylan, as far as songwriting goes, I don't know if anybody influenced me more than that.
Those are all great influences. Charlie Parr, this has been so lovely. I've got a show coming up in just a few hours from 2 to 4 p.m. I'm doing my album release party for Songs of Resistance and Resolve with my two great singers, Macy Orr and Oliver Jane, the Tilttown Titanettes, over at the Alhambra Lounge, 301 North Central Avenue. It's going to be a food raiser. There's no cover, but bring some non-perishable food items for the United Gospel Mission. We're going to listen to a song I recorded with the great Al Sparhawk next called No Kings, No Crown. Charlie, great to see you. Good luck on down the road. And can't wait to see you in concert soon.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime. Open door here for you, Charlie. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. And remember, like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy. They are banning the books. Well, the books being read, obeying the voices that they hear in their heads. They like to say they are more righteous than you. They're just fool after fool after fool. They're just fool after fool after fool. They banish the women and silence their voice. Enclosed hangar alleys with no other choice. Handcuff the doctors and the scientists do. They're just fool after fool after fool. Fool after fool after fool.
They mask up like gangsters, roll up to your school, round up the students who have broken no rules. In farms and factories and fancy hotels, if your skin's coffee colored, you're on a highway to hell. No kings, no crown, not ever, not now. No kings, no crown, not ever, not now.
They got alligator prisons, jackboot police. They'll grab grandma and grandpa, a nephew or niece. That man selling ice cream, they'll take